this is episode 5 of Out of Band. I'm Anne Leslie.
My name is Jennifer Winnekers.
And my name is Faith.
And today we're going to be talking about flexible working. So we're going to be talking about flexible working in the context of COVID. So what it is, what it isn't, good thing, bad thing, where are we going? And it kind of came up in a conversation where we were realizing that there's kind of a lot of, excuse me, there's kind of a lot of talk around, you know, with vaccination and people potentially going back to the office. Do we want to go back to the office? You know, we've been kind of moaning about being stuck at home, but now that the potential of, you know, going back to the office is looming, kind of going, kind of liking the fact that, you know, I don't have to wear high heels and get dressed up in a suit and do all of that commuting stuff. So, you know, just Jennifer and Faith, right? What's your take on it? Flexible working in the sense that we've been doing it from home. We've had different structures. Everybody's had to kind of find their groove. What's your kind of take on it?
Faith, you want to kick off?
I guess for me, flexible working is a plus. I need to be able to, sometimes I'll need to be able to go to the office when I want to go to the office. But I love the fact that I don't have to wake up so early, spend hours in commute, and then, you know, get to work, do my work halfway, because, you know, you have the coffee breaks, you have a lot of breaks during work hours when you're not working from home. And then traveling back, I think for me it was like a 10+ hour day because of the traveling. So I prefer working from home. I prefer being able to work from home when I want, when I need to, instead of having to always, you know, have to request working from home. So for me, it's a plus.
For me, being able to flexibly work and to plan my work, basically, it means that I can say that I want to work from home, I want to work from the office, I want to work from, I don't know, a holiday location somewhere because I'm taking 2 days extra off, but I still will be able to do the work that you guys need me to do. This whole COVID situation kind of forced everyone to work from home, sit 8 hours a day in one particular space. And to be honest, I've had a bit of difficulty with that. Like, I kind of need the interaction with my colleagues to stay focused, but also to get new and fresh ideas. And I do realize that specific connection, that is difficult for me to get when I'm just working from home. And of course you can schedule Skype meetings, Slack meetings, WebEx meeting, whatever virtual tool you're using. But it takes a little more effort than to just say like, hey guys, let's go grab a cup of coffee and discuss some things and then focus on work for the next 3 hours or something.
Yeah, networking is definitely a challenge.
Well, I mean, because when actually listening to both of you, right? So it's a few things. It's where you're working from, and then how you're kind of organizing your time and getting the work done. And one of the things that I realized, so we're all in different places, right? The two of you are in the Netherlands, I'm in France. There's been a massive move that's been forced by COVID in France towards remote working because a lot of companies very, very hostile to it. And a lot of it comes down to trust, which is odd in the sense that, you know, if you hire people, you know, it's kind of implicit that you're trusting them to do the work. And yet this idea that you wouldn't trust them to do the work if you can't see them. And yet it was very, very present, right? So we've had periods of lockdown and then easing of the restrictions. And during that, there were companies, and this is where you could really see the difference in culture, where they would demand that you go back into the office sort of 2 days a week. This wasn't the case of IBM, by the way, but And
we're lucky.
we were yeah, but I mean, it's really indicative of sort of leadership and culture that they were demanding that you go back, which actually exposed people to risk because they were commuting and they didn't necessarily have to, but they had to be there so that this feeling of like command and control. If we can't see you, we can't
Then you're
control
all working.
what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have realized that they don't want to go back to that. Yeah, like who would want to? You know, who would want to go back to that? And it's just this element of like choice and autonomy and balance, I guess. I mean, have you guys found better balance in any? And it's not easy to balance in the circumstances that we've had, but are you hopeful that you'll be able to kind of have a balance on the things that matter to you through having more flexibility on your work?
I guess for me, it kind of depends on the way that the world will develop further. Like, if I'm really honest, COVID and working from home actually kind of made me work longer hours and work more, because you're in the office, you don't have your commuting time, so you're basically just sitting behind your desk without taking those little breaks that you sometimes need to get realigned again.
Yeah.
So for me, it depends a little bit on how the whole world will develop. If we can go back to or if we can move forward to a situation where we're able to choose ourselves when we will be working from home, when we will be working from the office or from a different other location, for me that would be more perfect, because then I will feel more in charge of deciding how I spend my time and how I basically will do my job.
Yeah, I totally agree. By working from home, for me, it's mostly about the flexibility and the independence. So I can decide, okay, I'm not feeling so well right now. I can go ahead and take a 30-minute nap and then wake up and continue over my time, you know? So that flexibility, that independence is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, there's actually science behind that. And Daniel Pink did some studies around this about the keys to motivation. So there's like autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And what both of you are kind of talking about is this autonomy, which is you get to choose. Trust me to do the work. I'll do the work.
Yeah.
But I get to choose the conditions in which I do the work, which I guess is really important, right? Because the stuff that goes on, I was just thinking about, you know, I used to commute a lot. Yeah, the idea of, you know, running to get the bus and then but just being, because it adds that extra element of stress, right? It's okay, being on time for the bus, it's not a huge deal, but it's another thing that you have to be on time for and have on your mind, and not missing the train and planning. It's just more of that sort of mental effort of planning. Yeah, if you can just sort of lighten the load on all those things, I really don't miss it. And I was kind of going, yeah, no, I really don't want to do that again.
But you mentioned something that like actually kind of triggered me. Like, if you really want to focus more on actually getting stuff done and tasks done, instead of focusing on a specific amount of hours, there are actually organizations that are looking more towards like, okay, if you do the job that we ask of you, if you perform the activities that we want you to do, and you take 4 hours instead of 8 hours, then good for you, have those 4 hours off. What do you guys think of those kind of initiatives? Do we need 40-hour work weeks?
No, I don't think we need 40-hour work weeks. But I guess it depends, because people tend to, when they're given a chance, they tend to abuse privileges.
Slack off. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how I'm not sure whether that will be really a positive thing in my case, in my personal case. For some, I guess it will be, I'm also a person of, of structure. So I kind of like know, okay, that, hey, I have my 8 hours or so. And after that, I can plan something in the evening with the girls, or I can walk somewhere. So, the fact that I definitely have that, that structure helps.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would really work for me personally.
It's an interesting question though, right? Because I don't know, it seems kind of arbitrary that we would have like a 40-hour week. And there have been places, I don't know, was it in Finland or somewhere, where they were experimenting, or I can't remember if it was countries or companies that were experimenting with having like 4 days a week. And something was published this week or last week about long hours are actually, sounds very dramatic, long hours are killing people. But it's a reality, and it's not like, okay, you've worked a 70-hour week and suddenly you drop dead, but it's the long-term damage that's done to your body that you can't see, right? Because there are days where we look tired or whatever, but it builds up over time. And if you just have consistently ridiculously long hours where you're sort of, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, I mean, Goldman Sachs, there's like Goldman Sachs junior bankers sort of rebelled and said, only want, was it they only want to work an 80-hour week. And you're kind of going,
which is
nuts, right?
Yeah.
We only want to work an 80-hour week, which is twice what we're meant to be working. And kind of going, okay, so we're all adults, and you say, well, an autonomous adult gets to do what they want with their time. I guess none of these people are being forced to work in corporate banking, but nonetheless, I mean, at what point does it just doesn't make sense, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
We kind of accept things as institutional and normal, and nobody questions it.
Yeah. Well, what about life, right?
Yeah.
So if it's an 80-hour week, then what are you doing in the evening? It means you're still working.
Nothing.
Do you get to see your family? Do you get to have a weekend, or are you sleeping because you're so damn tired from work?
So I've had colleagues or friends who worked in consulting organizations where they were also kind of forced to be in those kind of situations, and they literally did working from like 7 o'clock in the morning until like 6 o'clock in the evening. They had a dinner break, and then they continued until like 10 or 11 in the evening, and then they went to sleep and then repeated it again. And worst case scenario, they also had a commuting time, which was either an hour or 2 hours, and they also needed to include that in their schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of go, okay, if somebody is choosing to do that, all right, but you kind
personal
of
choice.
Yeah, just you kind of wonder why. And I don't know, maybe it's something that you do when you're younger and you don't really question because you've internalized that this is, success. Or I don't know, it just seems absurd to me now, but maybe when I was younger, it wouldn't have. I don't know whether it's something that kind of changes with age and maturity and the things that you want from your life and how you measure well-being and what matters to you changes over the course of your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. I don't know, maybe.
Or maybe when the first burnout hits, that could also be the case.
Also.
Yeah, I've worked in delivery, right, most of my life, and I remember before I would do like 12 hours, 12-hour days, and it was fine for me. I wouldn't even feel, it was, first of all, interesting. I think I was just younger, and I was like, just working every single time, 10 to 12 hours a day. But rather recently, I understood that, hey, I'm tired. I'm getting tired. I cannot do more than 8 hours. I need that time to focus on something else. I'm no longer young. I guess I don't have that energy anymore.
My sister said this to me. I'm the youngest in my family, right? And it came with some advantages, but it came with one major disadvantage, which was because of the age difference, my brothers and sisters all had done stuff way before me. And then tell me far in advance, no, don't do that, do that. And I was like, would you let me make my own mistakes? But I remember my sister, I would say maybe about 10 years ago, I'd recently gone back to work after a long period of being at home with my kids. And I was like super pumped. It was like being back out in the world. I was living again, loads of energy. And I remember my sister sort of saying to me when I was working on a bank holiday, enjoy it while it lasts. I was like, what do you mean? And she said, there will come a point where the energy you have right now, you're not going to have it anymore. You're not going to want to work late in the evening. You're not going to want to work on the weekend and on bank holidays. You're going to want to do other stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, it must be terrible to be so jaded.
That happened to me. That definitely happened to me, because I was working at a technical assistance center, and you know, the more you work, the more you get paid. And the pay was good, right? So I want to work on Sunday. I want to work on Monday. I mean, on Saturday. I want to work on King's holiday. Just give me all the holidays, and you know, I'll make good cash. But now, even though you give me cash to work on a holiday, I'm like, man, I need to spend time at home. I wouldn't take it. Yeah.
You need to recharge. You need to reload. You need to get your energy back again, and to so for me, it's mostly just to take your mind off of work. I mean, I love my work. I'm very passionate about helping organizations improve their cybersecurity. But for me, that's not the only thing in life. Like, I have a partner, I have friends, I have sports that I love to do. I love being out in nature. I don't get full fulfillment from my job, unfortunately.
No, and actually somebody earlier this week, we were talking about success, right? We were kind of having a conversation about what's success. And she mentioned a thing that's called a framework that's the 3 F's, the 3 H's, and the 3 S's. And I thought, oh, what's that? And it's this idea that to live like a happy and fulfilled life, sorry, my camera's moving, we've got like 24 hours in a day. Every human on the planet has 24 hours in the day. And we tend to say we need to sleep 8 hours. Very few people actually do, but right, we'll say the theory, you're meant to sleep 8 hours. The workday, in theory, is 8 hours, which leaves 8 hours. And in that remaining 8 hours, that's where the key, kind of like the key to happiness is. Because in those 8 hours, you get to choose things that are around your family, your friends, faith, whatever that means for you, hygiene, health, can't remember what the third H is. And then there's soul, smile, and service. So it's like 9 things, and you can fill up those 8 hours with those 9 things, or a mix of them. And that's where you kind of balance out. So your sleep, your work, and then this choice of how, you know, you might be very spiritual. You might love doing acts of service for friends, family, charities. But all of these things are kind of what makes the difference between an existence and a life
living.
Yeah. We work to live. We don't live to work.
So fully agree. Yeah.
So do you guys think that, do you ladies, sorry, being inclusive, do you ladies think that given an option, or you know, given if you need to change your job tomorrow, for example, would you go for one that does not allow for work from home, or would you be picky about that?
No, I will definitely choose always for an organization, for a job that will allow me to work from home whenever I want to or whenever I need to. And I understand that in consulting, there is a bit of a more tricky part that you always need to be at least in touch with your customer. But I think this entire year has proven that it's also possible to do that through interactive webcam sessions. So for me, the best situation would be, I don't know, 3 days at home, or 3 days at the office, 2 days at home, or something like that. And then being able to choose when to do that, basically.
Yeah, same with me. It's a company that's enlightened enough to offer that as a possibility, because I think after COVID, any company that demands full-time presence in the office, it says a lot. For
Yeah.
me, it would actually indicate that they haven't moved on. They haven't adapted, and a company that can't adapt, given what we've been through, is probably a company that can't adapt its business, right? It can't adapt. It has a culture of rigidity, and I kind of go, yeah, no. It would be a flag
No
for
thanks.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be a flag for me. What about you?
How about you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny that so like 2-3 years ago, actually 3 years ago, we were, trying to just get our management in the organization that I was working. We were trying to get our management to just give us work from home opportunities to us delivery people, because the salespeople could work from home. Most people, SEs, could work from home, but the technical assistance center could not work from home. No,
that's interesting.
And and now, obviously, the center, is functioning with people working from home. So it's interesting to see what is going to happen to such places or such companies or such organizations when COVID comes to an end.
And in some ways, I think, would we wish that COVID hit the world? No, maybe not. But what it has done is that it has forced things that, like you mentioned at the beginning, right? Remote work in France, big no-no.
It was an accelerator. Yeah,
totally accelerator. And I know we've talked about OutOfBand. This is not like a feminist soapbox, but there is an important aspect that I think merits a bit of discussion, which is, prior to COVID, we had a tendency to say women needed flexible work, right? And particularly in sectors like cybersecurity or others where there aren't very many women. One of the things that we need to do as an industry is give women flexible working. That drives me mental, because women don't need flexible working.
We all need it.
Everybody needs flexible working. And what's often implicit in saying that women need flexible working, it's because a lot of women have an unreasonable amount of unpaid labor.
Yeah.
From family care or whatever, that's on top of what they do in a professional setting. And it's just wrong for me to say women, because it's sort of, women need flexible working so we can continue to do more. No, everybody needs flexible working so that they can live their lives in a better way, and so that we can spread out the burden of unpaid labor, so that if you're in a family situation, that it's not only the woman that has to do that everybody has. And I know that was what my case back when I was married. I remember my ex-husband sort of saying, but I can't do that. I can't go pick up the kids at school. And it was true that, he was working in a bank, and his job was sort of calibrated to the opening hours of the stock market. Okay, right. That is sort of an immovable thing. But that was one of the reasons that I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. Because the idea of having to mind, I know there are women who do it, and I take my hats off to them. But the idea of, trying to get the kids to childcare and then run to work and then deal with the traffic and the unpredictability of public transport, or just this constant mental load of, I'm always going to be late. I'm never actually fully present in anything that I'm doing, because I have to anticipate the next step. But no,
I mean, the thing that kind of triggers me when you say these kind of things is a discussion that I had with a friend of mine, actually, I think a year ago or so. We were discussing that we both live alone. Like, we have partners, but we both live alone. We have full-time jobs, and we were kind of like having a Friday evening and having a nice drink, but at the same time also like discussing like that that it was hard, it was difficult to have to live alone, to have your own house, to have a full-time job, but at the same time also do everything that you normally need to do in the household, to keep it clean, to maintain it, to cook, to take care of yourself. And we came to a realization that back in the day it was so normal, but that's because it was basically expected that one person of a family took that unpaid labor for themselves, while the other person works full time.
For the past like several months, I've had to go back and forth, for example, to the hospital, right? And just being able to, everyone is working, but having, being able to go with my partner, him taking a few breaks or waiting in the car while I actually do my thing, that's, that just adds it, for me, it adds value to my life. So
yeah, absolutely.
And there was another post that actually went viral, I think, on LinkedIn a few weeks back about a guy in the UK who works at a major global bank, and he had a very severe health incident and ended up in hospital. And he posted about it and basically said, right, well, I'm lucky, I didn't die, but total wake-up call, and I am not spending my days from 7 in the morning until 10 p.m. at night, because that seemed to be what he was doing, on Zoom. I'm just not doing it. Now, right, so I think we've kind of agreed there's a lot of positives to remote working. But yeah, I mean, that video conferencing overload is tough going, right? Because we've all had those days where from the minute you kind of start your day until the moment you finally log off, it's non-stop. And I saw a picture of brain scans of what your brain looks like in terms of brain activity and your stress levels when you go from call to call to call to call to call, and particularly if you're context switching, right? So different topics,
different projects.
Like a heat map. Yeah, like the brain is sort of, when everything is sort of, you're functioning at peak performance, it's kind of blue, and then it gets red, and then red, and red, and red, and red. And there's the real difference, actually, if you manage to have a break. So it's not only, it feels frustrating, but it's actually counterproductive. Because we put ourselves under massive pressure, and there's diminishing returns actually on our productivity.
And so that's why sorry, Faith, please.
No, Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's what I actually just wanted to say, is that's why for me, like, the most ideal situation would be that combined situation of being able to work from home but also go to the office when you need it. Because what Anne said, like, the whole day filled with virtual meetings, I've had those in the past week, and it is so hard, so difficult, because you cannot focus on doing your actual work. You're just constantly talking, constantly in meetings. And then, of course, the question is, are they necessary? In some cases, yes. But when do you actually do the work?
Exactly. That's a question that I always ask. When are people working? If because the calendar, sometimes it's crazy. I have meetings and meetings, and I'm like, okay, when am I supposed to actually do the work? So
I remember it's slightly cynical. I remember saying that exact comment, and a colleague saying to me, but Anne, if that is what you're doing, like, during your day, that is the work. I said, but it doesn't feel like, when you come out, some meetings, right? Yeah, okay, there are meetings where you kind of go, okay, we got stuff done. But then there are ones, and you kind of go from this one to this one, and you have your notepad, and you like, if you're having a good day, right, and you've managed to take nice tidy notes and actions and whatever, but you kind of, okay, but I'm already late for the next one, and you just end up with like actions and actions and actions and no time to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, true. So ladies, to wrap up, what would be your tips on working from home?
A little bit of structure, right? I realized late in the day, and on the advice of somebody who's much better at planning and structure than I am, I started trying to plan my days a bit better. which meant that I would try and start at a certain time. And it sounds a bit rigid, but it did actually help me because it was less decision making. As in, if I got into the habit, it's like, this is the time I'm starting.
And I'm a habit person.
The reason it was important was because I was trying to, for example, be more consistent in exercising. That was the main motivation, was that I was realizing that I wasn't exercising. So how could I structure my workday better so that I would take breaks and I would eat and not do it in front of my screen, and I would exercise or do a bit of meditation or yoga or something, but just something that was kind of wellness. And I needed to plan my work better so that I could consistently do the other stuff and it wouldn't be haphazard. So for people like me who don't like planning, it's maybe a little bit counterintuitive, but it really did help. Putting some structure in really did help me to kind of balance and do other stuff than just work.
For me, it's a little bit different because I organize my life, how weird it sounds, but I organize my working life based on the project that I'm actually doing. So for example, I have a project right now where I'm working with people from 3 different time zones, which means that I have to be extremely flexible with my calendar because I'm basically in the middle of those time zones, meaning I either can have really early morning meetings or I can have really late day meetings because it depends on who I'm talking to. But I always block my lunch. My lunch is sacred. I do not take calls or meetings during my lunch because it's just for me like a little break from the day. So that helps. If I am noticing that I've had a couple of weeks where I only have calls throughout the entire day, I actually start blocking either mornings off or I start blocking afternoons off so that I can still do the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, but at the same time also can take a little bit of a mind off of talking constantly, because it can be exhaustive and it can be like really screwing up the way that you think because you're just done with everything. And what also helps for me is like just chatting sometimes with colleagues, like, hey, do you have a second? Let's grab a quick coffee or do a little quick chat or something like that.
Yeah. You guys shared all the tips because I'm a person of structure. So I wake up a certain time, I come to work a certain time. Oh yeah, I dress up for work. So I'm not in my pajamas.
Yes. It makes such a big difference.
I know. I don't do all the, like the makeup and stuff, but I do dress up and sometimes do my hair. And then I block the lunch, definitely, because I block my 1 hour lunch. I go for a walk instead of sitting here, because I realized in the beginning when COVID started, I was working without lunch breaks. And then I tend to be most productive in the morning. So I really don't like morning meetings. I block my morning so that I can at least do some productive work and then have meetings in the evening when my brain is tired and I can talk more, So yeah. I guess, there's really not much new things that I do.
But I think that thing about clothes is not insignificant. Like, it's not just vanity. I think a lot of people, maybe everybody, went through the phase of sort of the sweatpants and even the pajamas. But
I deliberately did not do that because I know for myself, if I start going into that mentality, I will not be taking my work seriously anymore.
Yeah. For me, putting on clothes, it's like I'm going to the office. So
yeah, exactly.
This is my office space. I put on my clothes, I come, I work. After work at 6, when I actually stop working because I'm not taking any calls after that, I go remove my clothes and put on my pajamas.
Yeah. And you're saying something right now that is also maybe a very good tip to people that are watching or people that are listening. Have a dedicated space for your work. And that may be like a specific corner of the kitchen table, that may be a separate room, but make sure that you can close your laptop at the end of the day and just say goodbye to work and focus on your own life again.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky to have 2 different computers, that will be good. Use your work computer only during work time, and then close it, shut down, and use your personal computer if you need to.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
absolutely.
read a book.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, then I guess that's all for today. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Like and subscribe,
Bye-bye.
guys. Like and subscribe.
Bye.